Hello and welcome to Course 3, Emotional Regulation and Distress Tolerance. In this course, we will explore what emotions are and the different physiological responses that a young person might experience in their bodies when they feel different emotions. We will explore what we mean by the term emotional regulation, and we will have a think about how regulation curves can help us to support and understand a young person's emotional journey. And finally, we will look at distress tolerance and explore how to use 3 different distress tolerance skills. Throughout all of our courses, there will be times that we ask you to pause, to read or work through one of the resources attached to the training. Take as long as you need to do this. Simply restart the video whenever you are ready. Have your smartphone to hand. There will be QR codes on screen that you can scan in order to access these resources easily. Before we meet our presenters for this training, let's have a think about what emotions are. Emotions are complex mental and physiological states that arise in response to various internal and external stimuli. They're an integral part of the human experience, and they play a crucial role in decision-making, behaviour, and our overall well-being. When we experience an emotion, it can manifest in various ways within our body. We might experience an increase in heart rate, sweating or changes in body temperature, tension or tightness in the muscles, or butterflies in our stomach. The way in which emotions are experienced can vary from person to person and can depend on factors such as individual differences, cultural background, and life experiences. Understanding and being able to identify our emotions can help us to better manage and respond to them. The concept of the upstairs brain and downstairs brain refers to different parts of the human brain and how they function in relation to our emotions and our decision making. The downstairs brain refers to the more primitive, instinctive and emotional parts of our brain. This part of the brain is responsible for our immediate, automatic, emotional reactions to stimuli. When we experience strong emotions like fear, anger or excitement, the downstairs brain is primarily responsible for these responses. The upstairs brain refers to the more advanced, rational and cognitive parts of the brain, such as the prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is responsible for thinking, planning and decision making, as well as regulating our emotions. The upstairs brain allows us to think logically. It allows us to consider consequences and make more thoughtful choices. In an ideal situation, the upstairs brain and downstairs brain work together. The upstairs brain calms and regulates the strong emotional impulses from the downstairs brain, and this allows us to respond to situations in more measured and controlled ways. Exposure to trauma in childhood can cause the amygdala, or the downstairs brain, to become highly sensitive and overreactive. The amygdala is responsible for processing fear and other intense emotions. It can become hypersensitive, triggering strong emotions, even to non-threatening stimuli. This overreaction of the downstairs brain can make it difficult for the upstairs, rational brain to regain control. The person may find themselves reacting with intense fear, anger, or other emotions, even when the actual threat has passed. This is often described as being stuck in the downstairs brain. This trauma response can have a significant impact on a person's daily life. They can struggle to regulate their emotions, make impulsive choices, and have difficulty engaging in higher order thinking and problem-solving capabilities of the upstairs brain. Effectively addressing trauma requires therapeutic approaches that can help to reintegrate the upstairs and downstairs brain functions. It's a challenging process, but understanding the neurobiology behind trauma and how it can lead to getting stuck in the downstairs brain is an important step in finding effective ways to regain the balance. With the right support and strategies, it is possible to reclaim the integrated functioning of the whole brain.
I'm Dr. Justine Rothwell and I'm a Senior Psychological Therapist for Meadows Psychology Service.
I'm James Stevens and I'm a Psychological Therapist also for Meadows Psychology Service. So what is emotional regulation?
So emotional regulation is an awareness and an understanding of our emotions and their impact on our behaviour and the ability to manage those emotions in a really positive way.
So why is that important?
Well, it's important that we can identify and then label, and then it helps our understanding of our emotions, because we think that it then takes the power away of the intensity of that emotion if we can do that. But we do know that the young people that we work with, they really struggle to understand.
And why do they struggle with their emotional regulation?
Well, we learn how to regulate our emotions from our early life experiences and the availability of our caregiver. So if when we were little or a baby and we're crying and the carer comes over and soothes us and reduces our distress by rocking or feeding us, labelling our emotions for us and making sure our distress is reduced, then we then have this internal sense of containment and safety, and we learn how to manage our emotions. Another really good example, I think, is when you've got a child in a park and they're playing and they're always constantly checking to see if the parent's there, and then they fall and they cry. The parent goes over and then labels their emotion, says that looks really sort of hurt, that looks like it hurts, and they then soothe them. That child starts to learn how to internalise a sense of safety and containment. And so 3 months later, when they're in the park, they may look back but not need the parent to come over and soothe them, because they brush themselves off, get up, feel safe, feel okay, and can carry on.
So
Does that make sense?
Coming back to I'm okay,
Yeah.
I'm okay, I can cope.
And they've internalised that by the adult in their life soothing their distress and what we call co-regulating them. But what we know about our young people is they more than likely had an absent caregiver or really, really inconsistent. So when they were in high levels of distress, nobody would come to soothe them. So they don't get that co-regulation to learn how to self-soothe. Mm-hmm. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I talk to young people about it, I give them the example of if we would imagine a tiger coming into the room right now, we wouldn't sit here and talk about what are we going to do.
No, I'd be out the door.
Yeah.
I'd be out the door.
So we'd go into our fight, get rid of it.
And flight.
Yeah, you're in your flight, get out of here. Or we might go into freeze if we can't do anything else. And that's the threat response. But for our young people who've experienced that threat over and over again, the alarm system that tells them that that threat is there is sometimes overreactive or possibly underreactive. But if we think about overreactivity, that can also cause emotional dysregulation, in which they go into that fight or flight at times when there is safety there because they're triggered by something else.
So is that word they're giving a meaning to it, which could be different from the meaning I'm giving, because it wouldn't make me feel a fight or flight response. Well, a tiger would, but yes. Another experience might not.
And it can often leave us thinking, oh, why is that young person behaving that way? Because there wasn't an obvious trigger. And can cause quite a lot of confusion. So that's why we really need to think about what are those triggers and what does that look like and how we can support our young people.
I think that's really important, because I know that sometimes staff teams can get frustrated if there isn't an external trigger that they can work out. But for our young people, we need to really recognise that there's a lot of internal stuff that they sometimes, because they struggle to label their emotions, they don't recognise, and so then we're not going to be able to recognise.
Absolutely. So there's a way that we might look at that, and it's called the emotional regulation curve, which I'll show you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Please take a moment to pause the training and scan the QR code on screen. This will take you to a case study of a young person named Joe. In the next section, Justine and James will talk you through Joe's regulation curve. It's important that you understand Joe and his background in order to gain the most from the next part of this training.
So this is our regulation curve that we're going to map out now, and this is how we understand our young person's emotional journey as their emotions get more intense. So to start with, we would think about what it's like for that individual at baseline. The young person, I'd be thinking about are they like when they feel most safe and when they feel most calm. So Joe is chatty.
Yeah. Oh, he's funny. He's got a great sense of humour.
Yeah. He's really sociable, isn't he?
Yeah. He can really engage in a good old story.
Engaging, and he's super caring as well.
Yeah.
And we could go on about all the positive things about Joe, and that's really important to ground us in what is like when he feels most safe, because this is a process where we want to be really compassionate towards somebody who's finding things really difficult at times.
And also understanding we want to work hard to have that joy.
Definitely, yeah. So when Joe comes off his baseline, he might go into hyperarousal, which is an externalization of the powerful emotion. If Joe goes below his baseline, he might go into hypoarousal, which is possibly more internalizing of those emotions, more isolation and withdrawal. So for Joe, it looks a little bit like this. It goes all the way up and comes very quickly back down, but then might become quite isolated. So that's the kind of general shape it looks like. I might describe it as it's like a mountain. How high is a mountain and how long does the young person stay up there? And really our goal to support young people around emotional regulation is to support them to be as close to baseline for as long as possible. So when we notice that Joe maybe just isn't okay, we need to be detectives, and we might notice things about him that just identify that it's not quite at his baseline. So for Joe, what do you notice when he's starting to escalate in this phase?
You can see changes in his body. He starts to get agitated, starts to pace around.
So he paces. Anything else?
He can become quite withdrawn.
Okay.
And sometimes people can mistake that for him just wanting some time on his own.
Okay.
But that is a behaviour that he struggles with sometimes.
Okay. So all of these things that might just help us start to notice he's not doing okay. One of the things I notice when he's not okay is how he doesn't do his hair in the morning because he's really proud of his appearance. And it's really great to see that he cares about how he looks and how he feels. So if he hasn't gelled his hair, I'm kind of wondering, is something going on for him? So his physical appearance might change.
And this is why it's important the staff have a sound understanding of his formulation, of him, and are attuned to these changes.
Absolutely. So as Joe starts to climb, and we then get to the crisis point. Now we don't like using that for young people,
No.
do they? What would you use instead?
I'd say that's the point when they're in high levels of distress and
Yeah.
they're really, really finding things very difficult.
And if I was talking to a young person, I'd say, at that point when it's most difficult, what does it look like? If we were a fly in the wall in the room, what does it look like? And for Joe, we know that there's property damage, isn't there?
Yeah. He can be verbally aggressive as well, can't he?
Aggressive.
Yeah. That's his fight response.
Okay.
And then sometimes I think he does a flight response and he'll go missing. It
Missing.
all gets too much
So
and
missing.
he needs to escape.
Okay. So once he's gone through the most difficult period of his regulation, we then have this calming phase. So in the de-escalation phases, what do we notice from Joe that are signs he's returning to his baseline?
Physically in his body, you can see him
Just feels calmer.
relaxing, calming
Start.
down.
Relaxing, less tense.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see him get a little bit tearful.
I suppose you can sense the shame.
Yeah. And he might try and connect with the staff without wanting them to know he's connecting. So he might kind of pat them on the back or ask them for something. He's not at a point of trying to repair it then, but he's trying to connect.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll ask them to come and play a game with him on the Xbox.
So tries to connect. And we have this little potential dip here, don't we? And that is what happens there for Joe.
For me, he goes withdrawn and quiet, and I think that's where we have to really recognise that we need to offer support, because the shame response, it was on his own too long, can start. And we know that's powerful for Joe, isn't it?
Yeah. So after our young people have gone through this process, which could be in over hours, it could be short and sharp, as a team we're often left wondering, why has this happened? And what we really need to think about is, what are the triggers?
And I suppose that links back to what we were saying earlier. They can be both external triggers and internal triggers.
Okay. So can we think about a external trigger for Joe?
Yeah, definitely around anniversaries.
Yep.
So we know all the anniversaries that can trigger him to feel upset and get into a high emotional distress.
Because does it trigger a loss?
Yep.
Yeah. So those could be birthdays, bereavements. Christmas, of
that's
course.
massive.
Yeah.
That's massive for Joe.
A reminder of what he doesn't have.
Yeah.
I think a trigger is when staff spend time with other young people.
Yeah.
And a lot of conversations about, when we have triggers, do we just want to remove them? And with that, we wouldn't say, well, all staff are just going to spend all time with Joe. So sometimes we can remove triggers, but sometimes actually we're supporting that young person to be able to tolerate that in order to bring themselves back down to the baseline and have that emotional growth.
Other young people spending time with their family
Yeah.
can be a trigger, and it goes back to the loss again then.
And I wonder if an internal trigger for Joe is loneliness. When he may
Definitely.
be, and I don't know if he really recognises that.
Yeah.
Just a sense that he's not saying he feels lonely, but sometimes I get that feeling that he might be lonely.
And that's when he becomes quite withdrawn, and where staff sometimes forget he could be lonely when he's at his best time.
Yeah.
And he's being chatty and he's out connecting with them. They forget that underneath the iceberg
Yep.
is the loneliness.
Yeah. Because he doesn't want to show us that loneliness either, does he? Because
It makes him vulnerable.
Yeah, makes him really vulnerable.
I think what's important when we think about triggers, don't you, James, is that staff don't get hung up on them in the sense of always looking for an external trigger or thinking about the internal trigger. So if there's no anniversaries, thinking, oh, this week's going to be great, because you just have to really focus on being attuned to him, because there can be, that just triggers everywhere, can't they?
Absolutely.
It's so hard to write a list.
Yeah, and triggers change over time, don't
Yeah,
they?
definitely.
And for Joe, it was actually really helpful for us to have this mapped out with him, because when he was able to tolerate staff spending time with another young person, we were able to praise him.
Yeah.
And he just felt really good about himself, and we were able to say, well, that feels less of a trigger now.
Yeah, definitely. Because we review, don't we?
Yeah.
We review regulation curves on a regular basis. The dynamic, they're forever changing.
So now we've mapped it out, what we're going to look at is the proactive strategies we can use when Joe is at baseline, and then the reactive strategies once he's gone through crisis point, and how we can support him there. So our proactive strategies are the things we can do to support Joe before he gets to that crisis point.
Yeah. And to keep him
Yeah.
in his best place.
Yeah.
And so for me, thinking about his triggers, I think it's connection with staff. So he doesn't feel lonely, and he feels, but it's the quality of the connection as well. He can sense if a staff isn't really present.
And I think we can sense when we don't feel very connected to that young person, and we can feel when we're really connected and, you know, things are going really well. So connection. What else do you think helps in?
I think that's sort of through connection is spending time with him, and he really does like going out on activities.
Yeah.
The activities help him regulate his emotions.
Yeah.
So he loves, I know go-karting is a big treat, but he does like go-karting. So that's his treat, one in the holidays.
He also likes trying new things, I think.
Yeah.
I think he tried sushi the other day with a member of staff.
Wow.
It was just completely new to him, and he loved it. He thought it was fantastic.
He likes just going to the park on his bike.
Yeah. And just thinking about, from a trauma perspective, we're talking about co-regulation. So how staff can work together to regulate Joe when he's finding things quite difficult.
He loves baking.
He likes baking.
Yeah.
That's good.
And if you break down baking and what he gets from that, he gets the co-regulation from the staff, but you've got the smells,
Yeah.
you've got this sort of mindful activity of the sort of baking.
Yeah. Or with the dough, really kneading the dough.
Yeah. He likes going for walks.
Yeah.
And walks are just such a simple way, aren't they, to the bilateral movement.
Yeah.
Just helps regulate and keeps a young person calm.
Yeah. In terms of staff language, is there anything that really helps Joe to prevent that shame?
I think they need to remain calm with him
Mm-hmm.
and contained. What were you thinking around language?
I was thinking about when they maybe talk about collaborative language, like when they say, how are we going to sort this out together, rather than saying, how are you going to sort this out? Let's sort this out together. So there's a sense of togetherness rather than Joe being blamed or on his own.
That's a really good point, because that language then doesn't make him feel on his own, which then leads to him feeling lonely and isolated.
He also needs just to be kept really busy. I know we've talked about activities, don't we? Busy.
And because he's so engaging and he's curious, he likes it when we're curious with him. And he can be playful.
Yeah.
Likes us to be playful with him.
Yeah, we need a bit of playfulness. There's loads there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Which feels you've got a lot of tools in your toolbox to help you support co-regulation.
Absolutely.
Which is great for Joe.
And staff might find something works and want to share it with other staff members and try it out. So.
Yeah. And that's why we do review the regulation curve, so we can say, oh, this worked the other week. It's something new to put in your toolbox because it worked at that time. But what can work on one day might not work on another.
Absolutely. But we don't drop it. We just say we're not going to use that right now. So Joe's climbed all the way up to when things are most difficult, and we need to support him still through reactive strategies.
Yeah.
Now I know when I'm up here and I'm finding things most difficult, there's certain things that I don't want people to say or do. I don't want them to problem solve or tell me that I've done something wrong, because I can't hear it.
You're in your emotional part of your brain.
I'm in the emotional part of my brain.
And it's hijacked your thinking.
Yeah.
There's no logic. No. Okay. You can't think of the consequences. Yeah. You're not going to be thinking of your Wi-Fi at that moment.
No.
No. And how would you feel if somebody reminds you that you're losing your Wi-Fi?
Oh, I'd go further up here.
Yeah.
So what do we do at this point? We don't talk about all those things. Is it about going back to co-regulation activities?
Definitely, but I think we will have asked Joe what he thinks works best.
Oh yeah.
Before we do this exercise with staff, so we always want to know what he thinks works, because we know what works for one young person doesn't work for another. I think Joe would say he doesn't want the staff to pull back, and I know that's hard sometimes for the staff when he's being so disruptive. But I think when they pull back, it then can make him feel that sense of abandonment,
Yeah.
real lonely again.
So if that's the trigger, and then it'll go back up there.
Yeah.
So don't pull back.
Back,
Stick
stay
it.
with him, but don't do the consequence, because that just triggers him more.
So he's probably feeling really bad about himself,
Yeah, definitely.
and he needs staff to relate to him. I'm thinking about the 3 R's here: the regulate, relate, and then you reason.
Yeah.
So the reasoning is when he's closer to his baseline, which we'll come to. Sometimes he might need a bit of space. Staff to be close by.
Yeah. And sometimes he might need you to just divert him and offer him in something to help with the regulation. So see if he will go for a walk, see if he will go on an activity. But obviously we always have to have safety in mind.
Yeah.
You won't take him in the car when he's right up there.
Yeah.
I'd do something like see if he wanted to go for a walk.
Yeah. One staff member actually, just when he was about here, he was starting to come down and said, right, we're going to play on your Xbox. And they were there tapping away on the Xbox. And that really helped him because he was connecting and he was doing something that allowed him to express some of that frustration and anger that he was still kind of carrying at that point.
Staff could also get out the stuff that he has in his sort of his regulation box. And then if they just start using it, see if that makes him curious. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
And sometimes it's that offering, right? If you're offering something, you're showing that you're there, that you get it.
Yeah.
And you can also validate the difficult feeling.
No, yeah, that's really helpful, yeah. He likes to feel contained, so there's something in limit setting, but not limit setting with the consequences. We know there's going to be consequences with some of the things, but not in that moment telling him what they are.
Regulation curves like Joe's can be used to support children and young people across a variety of settings. Please pause to scan the QR code on your screen now. This will take you to examples of how different regulation curves might appear, and it will also provide you with a complete regulation curve for Joe, the young person that we have just explored with Justine and James. The next part of this training is on distress tolerance. Often when young people experience heightened and distressing emotions, they want to get rid of the emotion or escape the emotion and will engage in behaviours in order to do so. Unfortunately though, when we struggle with or try to avoid these emotions, often the distress can get worse and we can engage in behaviours that are hurtful to ourselves or others. By helping young people to develop distress tolerance skills, we can help them to sit with the emotions. The metaphor of a roller coaster can help us here. Sometimes our emotions are extremely heightened and distressing, but if we can learn skills to sit on the roller coaster, eventually our emotions will subside and we will believe that no matter how distressing our emotions can get, we can and will cope.
So we've just done emotional regulation and talked about regulation curves, and now we're going to think about distress tolerance, which is a DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy skill. I think a lot of young people and the adults around them get this a little bit confused, and they believe that teaching these skills and using these skills will make them feel better. However, we really need them to understand that when they're experiencing these massive, big emotions, really overwhelming emotions, that distress tolerance is about surviving them. It's about crisis survival. It's about using these skills to ride that roller coaster, those roller coaster emotions, sit on the ride, don't engage in anything destructive, and then be able to get off the ride, feel a bit calmer, and then engage in emotional regulation skills.
So it stops us from acting on the emotion.
Yeah, just sitting with it. Because sometimes if we act on the emotion, it can be something that's not helpful and can be more destructive. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we want to get rid of those really uncomfortable feelings, but sometimes that can cause more distress and that frustration that we can't get rid of them.
Yeah. And we can engage in something that doesn't make us feel better in the end. So these skills just help us to sit with it and sort of get through it when you don't actually know what you want or you need in that moment. So we just talked about what distress tolerance is, and now we're just going to introduce a few distress tolerance skills. One of the one that so many people has heard about and is quite mainstream is the soothe box, the calm box, the first aid box. It's called all different things, isn't it? Have you worked with young people and they've called it different things?
Yeah, so some of them called it a chill out box, and I guess it depends on, what do they want to call it. If it's a collaborative process, we're deciding on what items go in the box and what it will be named, so that young person has ownership over it.
Yeah, that is really, really important point, that you don't go out as an adult in their lives and pick everything that you think look good. In a description. You allow them to choose it, and it might not be a box, because we know young people who've had sort of sensory spaces in their bedrooms and in gardens, and they've put lights there, they've used all their different senses to create that calm place in a different place.
Because we noticed that naturally young people who are distressed will find ways to regulate their system, and that might not be a conscious thing, but they will be drawn to those things, whether that's pacing up and down, whether that's tapping their leg. They're trying to regulate that system, and the soothe box helps to really focus that and support that happening.
And that's where the adult in the life can help with that, because they can notice that there's a bit of agitation and that the young person needs to learn how to self-soothe, and so they redirect them to the calm box, the soothe box. And also I think it's important to remind people why, when working with young people who really struggle to regulate, it may be because they had gaps in the development. They did not have that adult teaching them core regulation skills. So we're introducing that to them now.
Absolutely. So should we look at a box then?
Oh yeah, go on.
So in here we have some soft, fluffy socks.
Oh, and what sense is that? If we're thinking of the 5 senses and sensory preferences,
I guess it'd be the touch, the feel of it. Yeah. And you don't have to put them on your feet, I guess, because they're quite squidgy.
Yeah. So other examples of touch could be a nice blanket or a piece of felt.
Yeah. And in winter you can get those small heat pads that you can put in your gloves, and they're really good to hold your rub, and they get slightly warm.
Yeah.
And you've got that sensory movement as well. So we see a lot of these in schools, don't we?
Yeah.
That allow that real visceral movement.
The fidget type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
People like this. Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate. For me, that's really comforting, hot chocolate. So I presume it's the taste. But for me as well, it taps into other of my sensory preferences, and the young people that I work with, other sensory preferences as well. So the smell of the hot chocolate can be quite soothing. Yeah. Or even the understanding that hot chocolate is cosy.
Yeah, the process of just like using the spoon to turn it, to mix the hot chocolate. And then you've got your mini, this is called a mini smiley diary.
Yeah. I'm always trying to encourage a young person to externalise any pent up sort of emotions that they've got and write them down, because we know sometimes if you can write it down, it makes you feel better.
Absolutely. We see young people doodling as well, don't we? So it doesn't have to necessarily be words, it could be images or scribbles.
Well, doodling's very mindful.
Yes.
And that's what we're hoping, that some of the activities in a soothe box or chill box or corner are calming. So like the colouring books, the mindful colouring books, a bit of Lego, playing with Lego in a box.
Absolutely. And our young people will have lots of different interests and likes, and so we can work that out, can't we?
Yeah.
So we've got another
always
fidget
individualising it. That's so important, with the young person choosing what they want.
So it's a fidget spinner.
Another fidget.
Yeah, so you could just have that around the house. Sweet.
Now, is that a sour sweet? So some people like sour sweets in the soothe boxes, because that can ground them.
Right.
So if we have young people who sometimes what we call dissociate, then using sour sweets brings them back into the moment, into the present.
Okay, and why is that the sour sweets do that?
So that tanginess brings them back to the present.
Yeah. So all these things help the young person come back to the present.
Yeah. And one of my sort of favourite ones as well, we haven't got in there because it's the ice mask. So that helps with another DBT, distress tolerance skill, and that's a temperature one. So you can have an eye mask in either to help at night for sleep or to put in the fridge and put on when you're feeling that you need to again be grounded with the temperature.
Okay, so that can go either way. You can have something cold or something warm.
Hot, yeah.
So there's loads of ideas there, and it's around just knowing your young person.
Yeah, and thinking of senses as well. There's nothing for hearing in there, is there?
No.
So I think for hearing, it's that music that they like. A lot of young people will use music to help sort of calm themselves down and regulate themselves. So that's about them choosing the type of music that they want in there. Or to help with sleep, they use the sort of different types of sounds or white noise, and a lot of young people like ASMR to help with sleeping. So again, it's just exploring all those different options.
And encouraging young people to try things out, and if they don't work, look for something else.
Yeah,
maybe, or
that's so
practice
important.
it.
Yeah, that's so important because everybody can be impatient and want an immediate sort of response and for things to work. So it's about practicing it every single day and not just when you're in crisis. What I do get sometimes adults in their life reporting is that when they were up there, it didn't work. And then I'll say, well, how often have they practiced it? And they'll say they've only tried it about twice. And it's about, remember, you're retraining the brain to actually sort of respond when you're in crisis to this, which means practicing when you're regulated repeatedly. So a good example is if you broke your leg and you went to a physiotherapist and you only did the exercises once or twice, would you expect to be able to walk? You have to practice a lot more.
Absolutely.
So, and I think smells, we did touch on the smells of the hot chocolate, but smells can be so powerful. So nice, soothing, calming smells, which you can spray on the socks or you can spray on the thing that you're using for your touch. Yeah.
Brilliant. So a grounding technique that you can use is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's really effective to support young people in talking through the 5 centres to bring them back to the present and to really help ground them. To do this, Justine, and to show this, are we okay to give it a go?
Yeah, let's give it on. This is a real popular one, isn't it?
Yes.
It's used sort of really on a regular basis.
So Justine, can you name 5 things you can see right now?
Yeah, I can see a really colourful picture on the wall. I can see a light switch. I can see a door. I can see bright lights on the roof. And I can see a stapler over there on the side. Is that 5?
That's 5.
Yeah.
Can you name 4 things you can feel or touch right now?
I can feel my toes in my shoes, and I'm pushing them, which is quite grounding, onto the floor. I can feel this velvet material and this seat. I can feel my arms against the wood of this chair. I can feel my bottom on the seat. Is that enough?
That's enough?
Yeah.
The aim is just to ground you.
Yeah.
So 3 things that you can hear now.
I can hear the clock ticking. I can hear a funny noise coming over that corner as well, like as if there's a funny air conditioner thing. How many things am I hearing?
3. 1 more.
Oh, I can hear you.
2 things now that you can smell.
I can smell your aftershave. That's really nice, James. And I can smell my own perfume.
And lastly, 1 thing that you can taste.
I can't taste anything but because I haven't got a sweet, but there's a sweet in a box down there somewhere, so you can give me that so I can taste that.
Yes. So what was that like for you to go through all those 5 senses to do that activity?
I suppose it made me really concentrate on being in the room and present. So my mind wasn't drifting off to other things because I was trying to listen to what you was asking.
You could really see how you were engaging in the activity and you were connecting with the physical environment.
Yeah. So I can imagine if you're in distress, using that technique really does bring you back to the present and calms your big overwhelming emotions down.
So when young people are in distress, it actually takes them out of people asking why, what's going on, and we're just reconnecting them with that to help them become more grounded.
And that's a really, really good point because a lot of young people don't know why they're feeling that way. and it can frustrate them when we ask the why. So distracting them with this technique is really, really helpful.
Yeah. And again, it's practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, definitely. So thinking about the TIP skill, can you remember what TIP stands for?
So it's temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and a paired muscle relaxation.
Yeah. So if we think about temperature, when a young person has become really dysregulated, they may get agitated and feel hot and sort of hotly distressed. So what is helpful then to manage that crisis and overwhelming emotions is to use something cold to calm the nervous system, calm the heart rate, and making them feel more regulated. What examples have you got that your young people have used?
So ice pops.
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's a good one.
Yeah, are really good.
Yeah.
Having a warm bath, but again it depends.
Yeah.
And that might not always be helpful.
I think the warm bath is more when somebody wants to feel relaxed.
Right.
If we're thinking somebody's dysregulated because that they're feeling hot and agitated, I think a warm bath would make them feel more agitated.
Yeah.
So it's for people who want to soothe and calm the warm bath.
Yeah.
But a warm bath can be really helpful.
So an eye pack.
I think that's really helpful.
And I guess it's handy just to have those things on hand, because you don't want to be going, oh, we need to go to the shops now to get those things.
So have an ice pack in the fridge and then offer them the ice pack, or just water, splashing water on the face, wrists into water, or a cold flannel on the face, if the young person can tolerate that. It's about practice and learning what your young person can tolerate. So, intense exercise, is that what it says on the tin?
I think so, yeah. Well, I've got a young person who, as soon as they become quite dysregulated, has got lots of energy and there might be some property damage, so we just direct him to the punch bag.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it works an absolute treat, and it ends that everyone's kind of laughing and connecting, but it's that real visceral, that body movement experience of expressing that.
And that's bilateral as well.
Yes.
So what we know is that using something bilateral, so hopscotch, or sort of jumping from one side to another side, that helps regulate the nervous system a lot quicker.
So cycling as well?
Yeah, and in fact in America, the DBT Informed Skills, they always have they have a bike in the corner of the rooms, an exercise bike.
Wow.
So, trying to think what other exercise is helpful.
So any kind of running or...
Star jumps. Things that, we're 100% right, that adults in their life can connect with and they can have fun with. So you're getting the connection and the exercise. I think that's perfect. So, paced breathing.
Tell me about that.
So, there's so many breathing exercises out there which we can show. And it's about finding the right breathing exercise for your young person, because and it's back to practice. So some young people go, no, it's rubbish, it doesn't work. So some people like the hand breathing, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds. Hand breathing is simple and effective, but you can have star breathing. You can you think of any other breathing that you can have?
You can do box breathing.
Box breathing is a good one, but there's lots of resources that we can share around breathing exercises. So now paired muscle relaxation. What do you think that is?
Is that where you tense your muscles and then you begin to relax them? So you really focus on a part of the body?
Yeah.
So it might be the shoulders, and hold that, and then just relax.
Yeah, and you go through all your body, don't you, from top to bottom. But again, you have to practice. And I think some people can't tolerate sitting with the breath, or can't tolerate relaxation like this because of the tensing.
Yes.
Because that's easy for them to tolerate than just sitting with the relaxation.
And what I do with young people is I start off with one body part and build upon that success, because going through the whole body can take quite a long time, and then sometimes young people get quite bored with it as well. So actually, but that's actually the regulated part of it. So maybe starting with one part of the body and then building upon that, so they can then tolerate the rest of that.
And again, we can show lots of examples of that. So there's the tip skills, but practice is important. And the next skill is the stop skill. And why do you think this is particularly important with the young people that we work with?
Because it just allows them to be equipped with something to go forward that's really successful, and they feel like they're not acting upon those emotions and they've got something else in their toolkit.
Yeah, and I think it's quite important because a lot of our young people are impulsive.
Yeah.
So it's about teaching them to stop. Mm-hmm. What does stop mean? Can you remember?
So stop, the S is literally stop. Don't respond to that emotion.
Yeah.
And then we have the take a step back.
Yeah.
And that could be like literally take a step back, or you can imagine yourself taking a step back.
Yeah.
And then the O is to observe, and that's observing what's going on for you right now, and what do you need right now. And then the P is proceed, and that's mindfully, so in awareness of what we want to achieve and what we want to get out from this.
Yeah.
So should we think of an example of how we could use that?
Yeah. I always think a really good example with our young people is when they've been sort of hurt by a comment, or they've been hurt by something, and then straight away they want to dysregulate and then maybe hurt somebody back or do something destructive, or hurt themselves. So
we'd encourage them, the first one, just to stop, not act upon that urge to...
Just freeze.
Yeah.
Just tell them to freeze.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have the take a step back.
Yeah. And like you said, I liked how you said they can imagine doing that. So if you're in a place where you can't actually remove yourself physically, then they need to stop and imagine themselves doing that. But if they can actually remove themselves from the situation, I think that's really helpful as well. And then when they remove themselves from the situation, if they then can just take some breaths to help regulate and calm the nervous system down.
So then we have the observe what's going on. I'm really frustrated. I feel really hurt that somebody said that about me, and it feels either untrue, or actually maybe it's about something else as well that's been brought up. But observe what they need in that moment.
Yeah. And I think it's observing and noticing it, but not again responding to it.
Yeah.
To be able to sit with that big emotion that's been triggered, but not acting on it in one of the destructive ways we've just discussed.
So that gives they've got that space to kind of work out what's going on inside, and then the proceed is once you've come to that sense of what you want to do, and not in that impulsive way, but in that kind of informed way, taking a break. This is what will be most helpful, and it might be for this example that I need more space, I need more time. That's proceeding mindfully, or I'm going to address it with them later, or I'm going to seek advice on how to address that with that person who's hurt me. So you've got all those options available to you, and feel more equipped to then proceed.
Yeah, but this isn't an easy skill.
No, it's hard.
Because what do you have to do? You have to practice it. Yeah. And sort of adults in the life of the young people need to support them in practicing this and notice it. So notice it when they haven't done it, and then notice it when they've done it well.
And we might give examples when we've struggled with using stop, or we've used it successfully, just so we're modelling that for our young people.
We have now come to the end of this training on emotional regulation and distress tolerance. We have explored what different emotions are and the physiological responses that occur in our body when we experience different emotions. We have also explored emotional regulation and how we can use regulation curves to understand a young person's emotional journey. Finally, we have looked at distress tolerance, and we have explored a range of distress tolerance skills that you can use to help the young people in your care. The QR code on your screen now will take you to a PDF resource which covers all of the content that we have explored in this training. We have also provided a self-assessment quiz that you can complete online, and there is also a feedback survey that we would be extremely grateful if you could take the time to fill in. We sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this training and that you have found the content useful. From all of us here at Meadows Psychology Service, thank you for the support that you provide.